Okay, looks like the stream is telling me that I am live. Let me check here if I am live. Let's see if everything is good on my end here. Okay, we are live. Okay, never mind. Anyways, hello guys. Welcome to another stream. Okay, let's give some time for some people to connect. Let's see if there are some viewers on this late night. If there's some night owls just like me, night owls, if you would say. Yeah, let's see. I just tell somebody that. Where's my stream? I'm gonna tell everyone that I'm live here. Okay, let's see. Let's share the stream. We are live. Let's make some preseason predictions. Okay, so you guys know the drill by now. This is just a video that I make, like playoff predictions or like preseason predictions. It's mostly like predicting the playoff grid for for each of the 3 series. It's pretty straightforward, if we're being honest. So anyways, we're actually gonna start by doing it in reverse, when usually, like, I always used to do like a Cup Series first, and then Xfinity Series, and then Truck Series. Or no, it was actually the other way around. I always started with the Truck Series, and then I went with Xfinity, and then with the Cup Series. This year I figured that I will make like something different for some like playoff predictions and stuff like that. So I'm gonna start with the Cup Series first. So okay, doesn't look like. Okay, so it doesn't look like. Oh my gosh, I'm getting having some difficulties here. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so I might actually give some more time for people to connect. Okay, let's see if there's some stuff in the chat right now. Let's see if there's some people in the chat here. Okay, no one's in there yet. Never mind. No one is in the chat anyways. Why do I even bother? Let's just show must go on. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Let's give some more time for people to connect, because I really want to see what's up here. Let's see. And there we go. Yep. Okay, it looks like we should be all set now. Oh shoot. Okay, never mind. We should be up now. Yup. Okay, so you can see, we are back on the old tier maker. I have made 3 tier lists, one for each series, one for Cup, one for Xfinity, and the other for the Truck Series. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go through each series and go through my playoff grid, just, simple stuff. Playoff drivers are the drivers that I believe are going to make the playoffs. The playoff bubble are like guys that they could make it on points, could make it in with a win, but ultimately I don't think they will make it. But they will be like on the hunt all season long, so you should like watch out for them. And then drivers that miss it are like drivers that I don't think will win a race, and I don't think they will make it on points either. So, this applies for every single driver. You notice how every tier list has the same like playoff drivers, a bubble, and then the miss. So, anyways, let's start with the Cup Series. If you guys watched my last night's stream of like the top 10, who the top 10 or like top 15 drivers were, you will notice that most of the drivers that I had there were drivers that I believe will be in the playoffs. So I'm not gonna waste a lot of time here. Let's not gonna waste much time here, and let's go over my notes because looks like I had it here, just so I don't lose track of who goes where, because I do have my notes here. Okay. Anyway, so I'm not gonna waste much time here. Ross Chastain, I think he's making the playoffs. He's gonna have a bounce back year. He's one of my dark horses for the championship. Like I said in last night's stream, so I don't feel like I have to rehash the situation here. Austin Cindric, it's gonna be a bubble driver for me. A lot of people may say, yeah, he could miss the playoffs. He had a sophomore slump. That's exactly the point. The guy had a sophomore slump, so this year is gonna be kind of like a prove-it year for him. And the fact that there are still a lot of road courses, he's gonna have a shot at winning because Cindric is pretty decent at those. Even if he doesn't have like many chances to show it like he did in Xfinity, he's still a threat to win road courses. He could just one win could fall into his lap eventually. Austin Dillon, it seems to me like every other year Austin Dillon makes the playoffs. Like 2016 he made it in, 2018, 2020, 2022. 2017 he also made it, but after 2018, like he gets made it every other year. So just like Joey Logano, I feel like Austin Dillon is backing into a trend where is like top 20 to 25th in points at worst, but then he like wins at some random racetrack every other year and he makes the playoffs. Even if it's like an early playoff exit just to be some filler, you still cannot count Austin Dillon out, especially on those super speedway races. I know he's a sleeper to win the Daytona 500. I know some of you guys have him picked as a Daytona 500 winner, because that's just how he is. Like he tends to win. He doesn't win much, but he tends to win some of the bigger races. I don't know at this point. Josh Berry is kind of interesting. I was pondering whether to have him here as part of one of the bubble drivers or like miss. I think overall he's gonna be like one of the bubble drivers, but he's gonna be more like on the lower end. Not like he's gonna win or anything, but again, I like Josh Berry. I like him a lot, and I have very high hopes for him. As a matter of fact, I have picked him to be my rookie of the year. So because of that, I feel like I have to put some expectations on him. I don't think he's going to make the playoffs. As a matter of fact, okay, let's go out of order here a little bit. I don't think any of the Stewart-Haas Racing guys are going to make the playoffs. Gragson is a miss. Ryan Preece is a miss for me too. The only other guy that I believe can be on the bubble alongside Josh Berry is Briscoe. And Briscoe, in my opinion, is the best bet Stewart-Haas Racing has if they want to make the playoffs. Like, it goes Briscoe, Berry, and then Preece, Gragson. I go back and forth between those two. But Briscoe is number one. Berry, to me, is the number two. That's just how I see it at the moment. Um, but yeah, this is gonna be a rebuilding year for Stewart-Haas Racing. Um, so they're definitely gonna be one of my. I don't want to spoil anything because this is gonna be like another topic that I have in mind, but. I'm gonna be keeping a close eye on Stewart-Haas Racing this season and how year one of the rebuild post Kevin Harvick goes. I don't think any of these guys will make the playoffs, but if I had to put my money on one of them making it, either on points, it's gonna be Briscoe. With a win, it's gonna be either Briscoe himself or Josh Berry. It's gonna be one of those two guys. Gragson and Pris just focus on improving upon last year, especially Gragson. Just treat this as a fresh start, pretty much. Okay. See, Kyle Larson, one of my playoff locks. Same with Brad Keselowski. Might as well go with Chris Buescher there too while I'm at it. The two RFK cars, they're gonna return to the playoffs. Corey LaJoie. Okay, Corey LaJoie is pretty interesting. This first two races, I know a lot of people are going to give LaJoie saying that he's going to be like a surprise guy that could make the playoffs, especially since we have Daytona and Atlanta on week 2. Like, we are starting 2024, we are starting the season with 2 super speedway races. Like, again, this was like, whose idea was it to start the season with Daytona 500 and then another super speedway race at Atlanta, or like super speedway type of race, if you catch my drift. But anyways, Corey LaJoie, I know a lot of people who haven't and he's pretty good on super speedways for sure, but the thing about Corey LaJoie is, outside of super speedways, he's not really that impressive anywhere else, and I don't want to put putting all of his eggs on one basket. A lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, but you got Austin Dillon on the playoff bubble." Austin Dillon, he's pretty decent. Anywhere that's not a super speedway. Corey LaJoie is like not even mid-pack. Like, at the very least, Austin Dillon can run mid-pack and score an occasional top 10 on non-super speedways. I don't see that from Corey LaJoie. So because of that, I don't see much faith in him winning. Because of him, it's going to be a miss. I'm going to put him as a high miss, though. I could see him as a low playoff bubble, especially since Spire Motorsports, they made a lot of big moves this season. And in my opinion, Corey LaJoie is, in my opinion, the best bet for Spire Motorsports to have like a top 25 points finish. Of course, by process of elimination, this also means that Saint Smith and Carson Hocevar, they're not making the playoffs. I could definitely see them giving a challenge to Josh Berry for Rookie of the Year, and if they play their cards right, or some misfortune falls on that 4 team, I could definitely see one of them like stealing away the Rookie of the Year title away from him. But I still had faith in Josh Berry. That's why I haven't not only do I have him winning Rookie of the Year, I also have him in my playoff bubble. He's gonna be, I don't know if he's gonna be like top 20 in points, but it's gonna finish pretty close to that. He's definitely gonna finish higher than 25th. Saint Smith and Hocevar, they definitely have a shot, but they're gonna finish like more in the 26th, 27th range, if we're being honest. Another driver that's gonna be like a 25th place driver at best, Harrison Burton. His stock is just at an all-time low, and it's just pretty sad to watch. And again, I know I am a believer of on the 3-year plan that drivers have. Where drivers have like 3 years to prove themselves on the first ride that they have. Just like in baseball, you got 3 strikes and you're out. This is the third. This is Harrison Burton's 3rd year, so he's got to start proving it now. His rookie year was then his sophomore year, he fell off a cliff. But at the very least, you could explain that because you could explain like the sophomore slump. I mean, Austin Cindric, who was the Rookie of the Year in 2022, he couldn't even escape the sophomore slump. So if we're gonna give cut Cindric some slack and use the sophomore slump excuse for him, I feel like it's valid to use it on Harrison Burton too. But year 3, the excuses are over. I feel like if Harrison doesn't show any signs of improvement, I don't know if the Wood brothers are gonna keep him following this. As a matter of fact, I don't think they should keep him. And in saying that, all I expect out of Harrison Burton is just finish 25th in points. I don't expect a playoff berth out of you. I do not expect you to win the 100th race for Wood Brothers Racing. I do not expect that from you. So anyways. Let's see. Kyle Busch, playoff luck. I just want him to win that. Man, please. I just want him to win that race just so he can extend that win streak to 20 consecutive. Just please. That's all I want. If there's anything I want as a NASCAR fan, is just to see that it's just to see Kyle Busch win that one race to extend the streak. That's all I want. But that one win is also gonna lock him into the playoffs, so that's why I got him there. Let's see. Chase Elliott, he's returning to the playoffs. I don't think that's pretty much a surprise. Same as William Byron. Let's see. Ryan Blaney, defending champion, he's also in. Then Justin Haley. Okay, Rick Ware Racing. Look, I really like what they did with Justin Haley and Cas Gralla. You know, Cody Ware returning. You know, it is what it is with Cody Ware. People can have their opinions on him or whatever. But Justin Haley and Cas Gralla, I am really excited for this duo. Really excited to see. I'm really excited to see what this duo will do on how much Rick Ware Racing can improve now that they got like two not young drivers. I mean, they're younger than me both, but I mean, I'm 26. These guys are like in their mid 20s, so I wouldn't call them young. But they got some upside. I mean, they got more upside than Cody Ware, that's for sure. And they are and they're still relatively young, so I'm really excited to see what Rick Ware Racing is gonna do. Moving forward. With that being said, top 25. If Justin Haley manages to top 25 in that 51 car, it's gonna be a real surprise for me. Even when it comes to super speedways, and you know, Justin Haley, he tends to be there at the end when it comes to like super speedway races. Like if you remember all of his Xfinity wins, also Daytona, July 2019. Justin Haley has a knack for being there at the end of races, but I don't think that's gonna. Driving a Rick Ware Racing car can only get you so far, and unfortunately, that won't carry him to a win. I don't see that magic, that voodoo magic that Justin Haley has carried him through the Xfinity Series and that one Cup win in 2019. I don't see that magic working for him with Rick Ware Racing. I do not think he's winning a race. It's just a miss for me. See here, McDowell. McDowell, after last year, I can say with confidence, McDowell is a legit top 20 driver. Legit. And he can actually make it in. I can see a scenario where he actually makes it to the playoffs on points. Now, obviously, I'm saying I see a scenario. I don't 100% think that will happen because, again, if the season plays as we think it will play out, if the season plays as we all expect it to, that all the heavy hitters are going to be back. Chase Elliott's going to be back. Logano's going to be back stronger than ever. As a matter of fact, speaking of Logano, let's just put him there. The Gibbs cars are also going to be there. Hamlin, Truex, Christopher Bell. All of the Gibbs cars are going to be back. And as you can already see here, that amounts to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got already like 12 drivers in the playoffs. we've already got 12 drivers in the playoffs, and this is not counting the guys that I'm about to talk about, because there's quite a few drivers that I believe that I'm betting on to make the playoffs more than McDowell. So the only way I can see McDowell making it in is with a win. He's won before. I mean, he won last year at the Indy Road Course, but there's one hiccup though. We're no longer racing at the Indy Road Course anymore. The Brickyard 400 is back on the schedule. On the Oval, we're racing at the Indy Oval for the Brickyard 400. But again, there's still plenty of road courses in without Indy. You still got Sonoma. You still got the Chicago Street Course is back. Still got COTA, and you still got let's see. Well, Watkins Glen's in the playoffs. Now that I just realized Watkins Glen is in the playoffs. The Roval is also in the playoffs. Okay, there's actually not that many chances for McDowell to win, but he also does pretty good on super speedways, and him winning a race at Daytona or Talladega is not out of the question either. It's also not out of the question for him to run, score some decent results, but at the end of the day, 2024, I expect a lot of the heavy hitters like the aforementioned Logano and Chase Elliott to bounce back, as well as all of the usual faces that we are accustomed to seeing up front. They're gonna eventually figure it out if they get into a slow start and start performing well. So it's just pretty hard to justify McDowell in the playoffs along all of these guys, unless he wins a race, and unfortunately, I don't think he will. So anyways, Todd Gilliland. Look, McDowell is the best Front Row Motorsports driver. Is the best bet that Front Row Motorsports has to make the playoffs. He's the sole reason that Front Row Motorsports is even a top 20 team to begin with. Todd Gilliland, he is nice, but he is no McDowell. So unfortunately, he's missing the playoffs for me. I don't even see him winning a race. I don't see a scenario where he wins. Stenhouse. What I said about Stenhouse applies the same. What I said about McDowell applies to Stenhouse as well. He won the Daytona 500 last year. He does pretty well on super speedways and on short tracks too. Similar to how McDowell does well on road courses, Stenhouse is pretty underrated on short tracks, I'm gonna say, especially at Bristol. In the end, though, like I said about McDowell, I'm not taking Stenhouse over any of these guys. And there's still a couple of playoff spots left to fill. Let's see. Bubba Wallace. Yeah, Bubba Wallace is making it in. Hear me out. Bubba Wallace is making it in. I don't know if he's gonna win, if he's gonna make it with a win, but he's 100% making it in on points. He could win a race, but I don't know exactly when could that be. It could be at an intermediate for all we know. It could also come at a super speedway. Hell, it could even come at the Daytona 500. But Bubba Wallace is gonna return to the playoffs. Same as Tyler Reddick. At this point, 23-11, they already have some sort of direction. And I feel comfortable putting both of their Toyotas in the playoffs, alongside all of their Toyota teammates, and Ty Gibbs. Yeah, I do see Ty Gibbs also avoiding the sophomore slump. Not only do I think he's gonna make the playoffs, I do think he's gonna win. And depending on how well he does in the regular season, I could even see him making it all the way to the round of 12. I don't wanna speculate anything, but if what I saw from the clash is any indication, Ty Gibbs is about to take the next step in his racing career. He's gonna score his first career race, lock himself into the playoffs off of that win. Have some solid runs in the playoffs. I don't expect him to compete yet, like to become a serious contender, but I believe year 2, Ty Gibbs is gonna make some serious strides towards becoming like Toyota's like best driver, because he has the potential. He has the potential to be Toyota's best driver alongside Christopher Bell, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I do expect Ty Gibbs to be in the playoffs though, and he's gonna make it with a win. Now, unlike 2311 Racing, let's talk about the other Toyota team, Legacy Motor Club. Unlike 2311, I do think they're gonna be on the bubble. Eric Jones, he's gonna have a bounce back year. I believe he's gonna perform like at a similar level to how he did in 2022 when he had like Focus Factor as a sponsor. But ultimately, obviously, 2022 without the win, I don't expect him to win. I could definitely see him winning though, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm putting him here though because he is definitely a threat to finish top 20 in points. I can definitely see him finishing top 20 in points. And yeah, that's just about it for Jones. It's just, have a bounce back year, just perform better than how you did last year. The same applies for John Hunter Nemechek. The 42 car, they're finally out of the messy Gragson saga. May have been controversial, but whatever. John Hunter Nemechek, originally I had John Hunter out in the miss category because I didn't see him making the playoffs. But when I sat down and thought about it, why I have Josh Berry here. It wouldn't make more sense to have Josh Berry here and John Hunter Nemechek out here, missing the playoffs, while I also have Josh Berry and Chase Briscoe on the bubble. When I do have expectations for Legacy Motor Club, my expectations for Legacy Motor Club are higher than the expectations I have put on Stewart Haas Racing. Stewart Haas Racing, I just expect them to be a rebuilding team. Legacy Motor Club, I expect improvement from them. So because of that, I originally had John Hunter in the missing the playoffs, but the main reason I have him here in the bubble is more of an obligation. If I have Josh Berry on the bubble, I need to have John Hunter on the bubble as well, because I do think he's gonna do better than any of the Stewart Haas Racing cars, except maybe Briscoe. Except maybe. That 42 car is gonna do better than 3/4 of Stewart Haas Racing, in my opinion. But he's still not gonna make the playoffs. Does he have a chance to make the top 20 in points? Not really. Eric Jones is still their number one guy. There's a reason why Toyota decided to keep Eric Jones on the switch to when Legacy Motor Club switched to Toyota. There's a reason why Toyota decided to stick with Eric Jones, but they didn't. But they wanted John Hunter instead of Gragson. That 43 team has stability. That 42 team, it's a bit more of a question mark. It remains to be seen. I believe more in that 43 car though. Let's see. Daniel Hemrick is a miss. He's only in the car because Colleague Racing just didn't have that many options. Justin Haley ran out on them for Rick War Racing, and there weren't that many options out there on the market. Chandler Smith wasn't really ready for the Cup Series yet, and so we have finally got into the final, and with that, we finally have the last two playoff drivers here. Alex Bowman and Daniel Suarez. And honestly, I went really back and forth as to which guy should be my final, who should I put as my final playoff driver. In the end, I decided to go with Alex Bowman. Kind of a bold prediction that I have is that Bowman is actually going to have a bounce back year. Could win a race, maybe not. But even if he doesn't win a race, I think, hear me out on this one, I think Bowman is going to make the playoffs on points. even if he doesn't win a race, I think he makes it in on points. Suarez, he's gonna be on the bubble. He's gonna be on the bubble like all season long. He's gonna have a season very similar to the one that he had last year. Like, you know, getting his 3 to 4 top 5s, 10, 11 top 10s. Think about like Suarez last year, Suarez in 2019. You know, a bubble driver that for some stretches of the season you may think that he actually might he may actually make you think that he might make the playoffs. Ultimately, he's gonna come up short, and it's really sad because, again, I like Suarez a lot, and I really want him to do well, especially with all of the mounting pressure after the off-season that Trackhouse had, where they signed, like, you know, SVG, they signed Connor Silich, they even have Saint Smith on the deal with Spire Motorsports. Trackhouse had a very active off-season, and it all pointed to Suarez being the odd man out, as Chastain had established himself as a clear number one guy on the team. I really want Suarez to do well, but if Bowman has the bounce back season that I think he will, it's gonna be hard to justify having Suarez making the playoffs over Bowman or any of the other drivers that I have here, because the only other drivers that I can see like Suarez booting out is like the aforementioned Alex Bowman, Ty Gibbs, but I think Ty Gibbs is gonna break through this year, and Bubba Wallace. I mean, I usually go back and forth between Bubba and Suarez and how parallel their careers are, but as of right now, and judging by their recent performances, Bubba is clearly better right now than Suarez. So because of that, I have to put him in the playoffs over Suarez. But again, this comes with a caveat. If Alex Bowman doesn't have the resurgence that I think he will, then I'm just going to put him down here and replace him with Suarez. Like, that final spot is like, I'm 50-50 between Bowman and Suarez. Well, not 50-50. I'm more like 70-30 leaning towards Bowman. But as of right now, I'm banking on Bowman having that bounce back year. It sucks to me because I'm a huge Suarez fan, but I gotta be objective here. If Bowman has that bounce back year, if Ty Gibbs breaks through, if Bubba Wallace continues his builds upon his 10th place points finish from last year, there's just no way I see Suarez like making the playoffs unless he wins, of course. And even with a team like Trackhouse, those wins are going to be very hard to come by. Well, that's sad. So anyways, if you want to have a one last look at the Cup Series playoff grid, there you go. Let's move on to the Xfinity Series grid now. Now, Xfinity is more straightforward than the Cup Series grid is. It has historically been... Xfinity is just so weird to me because it's the best racing. If you watch Xfinity Series, you know they produce the best racing. Those cars with those like Gen 5 composite bodies. But they are also so weird in the sense that it's just very top heavy, and you know there's like so many so few heavy hitters that it just makes it so easy to determine like the front runners or who's gonna make the playoffs. Like most of these guys, they have a pretty straightforward path to, at the very least, a round of 8 appearance. And you know, we're just gonna get into that later, but Xfinity, I still, even with all that I just said, I still had a fair bit of trouble deciding who the playoff driver should be. So, without further ado, I'm just gonna get the obvious guys out of the way. Cole Custer, defending series champion, playoff driver. Sam Mayer. There's a chance that he actually becomes like JR Motorsports' best driver, kind of like Noah Gragson did back in 2022. Still too early to tell though. Justin Allgaier, the anchor driver for Junior Motorsports since, I don't know, 2016. He's already entering his 9th season with JR Motorsports, which is actually crazy. AJ Allmendinger returning to the Xfinity Series. I do expect him to be championship contender as always. Sheldon Creed, Chandler Smith, the two stellar pickups from JGR. I do think they're gonna break out. Chandler Smith, now that he's finally driving for JGR, you know, like a lot of people speculated him that he would in like you know, when he was with Kyle Busch Motorsports. Well, he finally got the JGR ride. I think he's gonna break out. Sheldon Creed, I think he's gonna be more of a number 2 guy, similar to what he was at RCR, but I do think he's gonna win a race as well. He could even win a race. He could even win 2. Who knows? He could even win 2. Who knows? Speaking of Sheldon Creed, his former teammate Austin Hill, he's also gonna be around. Riley Herbst, he missed the playoffs last year, but he closed the season out in style. Finally won his first career win and had like 5 straight top 5s to close out the season. I should probably fact check on that, but he closed out. He got a very strong finish to the season, and I do think now with that extra momentum that he has, he could actually lock himself in. He could actually lock himself into the playoffs and potentially win a race or two too, and potentially win a race or two as well. I do think Herbst has improved a lot since coming into Stewart-Haas in 2021. So. Again, the long-term investment paid off finally for him, for SHR. So, anyways, let's see who else. Oh, Kligerman, of course. Parker Kligerman. He was one of the more pleasant surprises of this past season. I do think he returns to not only will he return to the playoffs, in my opinion, he's also gonna score his first career win. You know, I started quite there a little bit because I didn't know if Kligerman had like scored an Xfinity win in the past. I actually want to fact check on that. I know he's won a couple of like Truck Series races in the past, but I just want to check real quick here. Has Parker Kligerman won an Xfinity race? Okay, I don't think he has, but I just want to make sure. No, he hasn't won a race. Okay, no, he has only won. He's only won in the Truck Series. So yeah, I do think he's gonna win his first career Xfinity race this year. He's gonna build upon what the success that he had last year with Big Machine Racing Team. I was pretty disappointed he didn't make it to a round of 8 because I was a huge believer in Kligerman, especially towards the end of the regular season as the playoffs came close. But yeah. Anyways, let's take a look at some of the other drivers, like the other side drivers that I don't believe will make the playoffs. Dawson Cram, just qualify for all races. Just don't fail to qualify for any race. Let's see. Who's this guy? Is this Kyle Sieg or Blaine Perkins? Who's this? Is this Kyle Sieg or Blaine Perkins? I don't really know here. Oh no, that's Kyle Sieg. This is Blaine Perkins. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. These two guys. Again, they're not making the playoffs. The fact that Ryan Sieg is here, again, this is kind of like a front row motorsport situation where, like, you know what I said about like Michael McDowell being like the best bet that front row motorsports has at a top 20 points finish. The same thing applies here. Like RSS Racing, they are the front row motorsport of Xfinity, where they have a shot at finishing top 20 in points, but their only shot at finishing top 20 in points or having like any respectable finishes is with Ryan Sieg. And because of that, Ryan Sieg is in the playoff bubble. Kyle Sieg and Blaine Perkins, I don't think they're making the playoffs. Leland Honeyman, this is a new guy that has just come into the picture with the new Young's Motorsports Xfinity program. Again, what I said about Dawson Cram applies to him. Just qualify for every race. Ryan Ellis, I don't know if if the Alpha Prime Racing cars, they have like the owner points to qualify for every race. But even if they do, I'm pretty sure they're gonna find themselves like, you know, below top 30 something in owner points, where they're gonna have to like scratch and claw their way to qualify on time for every race. Same thing goes with Brennan Poole. Like those smaller teams, for those smaller teams in Xfinity, the Truck Series, the goal is just to qualify for every race, because there are no charters here. They're still like they use owner points on those series. They don't use charters like they do in the Cup Series. So for those smaller teams, the goal is just to qualify for every race. Just qualify. If they do that, then that's a plus. Kyle Weatherman, he also drives for a smaller team. But I have such high hopes for him. I'm actually gonna put him in the bubble. I can definitely see a scenario where he actually like steals a win. I know I originally had him like, you know, completely missing the playoffs altogether. But he actually does have a case, you know, he's more of a like a low bubble driver, more on the low end, but he definitely has the potential to do like some to have some good runs with the team. If he doesn't make the playoffs, it's gonna be because, you know, the field is just way too top heavy, as it always is. But I have such high hopes for Kyle Weatherman that I just want to give him in the playoff bubble. Again, the playoff bubble in Xfinity is just too thin because of the amount of because of the lack of competitive teams up front. So I had to, like, you know, make up for it, like putting some drivers like they're in the bubble. Let's see here. Anthony Alfredo, again, just like Kyle Weatherman, on the bubble here. He's like low end on the bubble here. The thing with Alfredo is I'm not 100% convinced that he made the right decision, like leaving BJ McLeod to join our motorsports, because like you guys know, BJ McLeod just earned $40 million from selling his charter of the 78 car to Spire Motorsports. He cashed out on that charter for $40 million that he is going to invest on his Xfinity Series team, because his Cup Series operation, Live Fast Racing, is now a part-time venture. So because of that, he now has the money to run the 78, to invest on that 78 Xfinity car, and I fully expected Anthony Alfredo to be on board with that plan. So it came as a bit of a surprise to me that Alfredo was returning to our motorsports, a team that is on the downswing with after the down year that they had with Blaine Perkins. So I'm not 100% sure that Anthony Alfredo made like the right decision. Like, you know, our motorsports, on paper they are a better team than BJ McLeod, but you know, staying with the 78 car with the financial support that they have now from the money coming in from the Spire charter, plus the stability that Anthony Alfredo has, you know, staying with the same team from last year, I feel like Alfredo will have, you know, things will be looking up more for Alfredo than what they are right now. So again, that's just my opinion, but I'm not really, but you know, just so you guys know, I'm not a big believer of this number 5 team. I do still think they're gonna finish top 20 in points. It's gonna be competing for a top 20 in points along with Kyle Weatherman and those guys. But yeah. Jeremy Clemens, I'm gonna put him right around here with Ryan Sieg. Now, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna put him above Ryan Sieg here. Clemens, in my opinion, is just a slightly better version of Ryan Sieg. Guy that drives for a smaller team, but unlike Ryan Sieg, he has actually won some races and has managed to get himself into the playoffs off of those race wins. So Because of that, I put more stock on him than I do Ryan Preece, because he's more of a proven driver than Ryan Sieg is. And again, this is no shade against Ryan Sieg. I'm just telling it like it is. Jeremy Clements has proven more, has done more than Ryan Sieg, and because of that, I'm more of a believer than in Jeremy Clements than I am of Ryan Sieg. Again, that being said, the playoff bubble is the playoff field is just way too stacked. Probably the most stacked playoff field that I have seen that there has been in Xfinity. Because as you will see eventually, there's gonna be a couple of heavy hitters that I have eliminated from the playoffs. Speaking of those heavy hitters, Sammy Smith, I do think he's also making it in. See, Jeb Burton. Yeah, Jeb Burton, he could definitely make it in on points. I could see a scenario where he does. I don't think he will in the end. Parker Retzlaff, he's kind of like Jeb Burton, but a little bit worse. So because of that, if Jeb Burton's not in the playoffs, then neither is Retzlaff. And Hailie Deegan, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just don't see her making the playoffs. She's just like Brett Moffitt. She's basically a downgrade from Brett Moffitt. And that's especially considering the fact that they did not even retain Brett Moffitt. They had to let him go because he wasn't bringing any sponsorship to the table, which is just really sad, because I feel like Hailie Deegan having a veteran teammate in Brett Moffitt to start her Xfinity Series career, it would be more beneficiary to her than it would be for her to be like the main focus on that team. With that being said, there's a couple of perks to her being the main focus on the team, like all of the resources are put on her and her only. And you know, for a moment, I kind of wanted to put her here, like in the playoff bubble, simply because I do have her, like, you know, I do have her finishing like around the top 20 in points. But you know, the playoff bubble is all about like drivers that I believe can finish. But then again, the concept of the playoff bubble is drivers that I believe can make it into the playoffs either by points or by winning. Do I think Hailie Deegan can finish top 20 in points? Absolutely, yes. As a matter of fact, that's the goal for her. It's just finish top 20 in points, don't rack up the DNFs. With that being said, I do not see her winning a race. And again, no slide to her here. Just because I'm putting her in miss, that doesn't mean I don't have any expectations for her. I do expect her to finish top 20 in points. I just don't expect her to make the playoffs. That's if that works. Like, if you get what I mean, pretty much. So, anyways, we already have 10 of the 12 playoff spots filled out in Xfinity. And we have 4 drivers. I left these 4 drivers out for last. Because honestly, they could go either way. Okay, honestly, not really. SVG is in the playoffs solely, even if it's only because of his road course prowess. The fact that he's gonna be a factor on road courses puts it on this list. But again, SVG, he's definitely him and Allmendinger. You know, there is a running joke on social media that Allmendinger and Van Gisbergen, they're gonna like dominate all of the road courses. They're gonna finish 1-2. Also, Colleague is very good on super speedways, so Van Gisbergen could learn a thing or two about drafting there, and he could do pretty good there with Colleague. So when you take all of that into consideration, this means that SVG, he has a chance to do well at both road courses and super speedways. All he has left are the short tracks and intermediate tracks to figure out. But I believe with enough time and practice and experience running laps, I do think he's going to get better at those types of tracks as the season progresses. But I do think he's going to be 100%. I do think he's going to dominate our road courses from the get-go. Every single time they go to a road course, you can expect SVG to at the very least run top 5 or top 10. If not win the race, top 5 or top 10. And because of that, I do feel he's going to eventually win a race or two at these road courses, and he's going to make it to the playoffs off of those race wins. And I'm going to go even further. I do think, even if he doesn't win, simply because he's driving a colic car, I do think he's going to make the playoffs. Because he's going to rack up big stage points on both road courses, as well as a couple of super speedways if he doesn't crash out or get involved in the big one. So, because of that, that's my bold prediction right there. Van Gisbergen is going to win 2 races. Honestly, I'm going to say he wins 2 races, both on road courses, and he's going to make the playoffs off of those 2 wins. So now, we got the final playoff spot here, and again, just like the Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez situation in the Cup Series, I go back and forth between these guys. I go back and forth between these guys. Well, Jesse Love, not so much. I think Jesse Love is going to have a season similar to Sheldon Creed two years ago, like 2022 Sheldon Creed. He's going to have a couple of good runs, but he's also going to be racking up a sizable number of DNFs that in the end is going to prevent him from making it to the playoffs. So because of that, I don't think Jesse Love is going to make it in. This brings us down to Brandon Jones and Josh Williams. 2 drivers that, based on the way they got their rides, they are polar opposites. As much as I want Josh Williams to make it into the playoffs, Brandon Jones is in a contract year. This is like the last year of Brandon Jones' contract with JR Motorsports, and I don't know how much this extends to NASCAR, but there is this tendency of drivers like running very well or like overperforming when it comes to them being on a contract year. Because of the sense of uncertainty, they have more urgency to perform, and because of that, I do think that Brandon Jones, especially due to the fact that he is driving a JR Motorsports car, and driving a JR Motorsports car gives you a higher ceiling than you would driving a colic car. Simply due to the fact that he's driving the better car, I'm gonna give Brandon Jones a nod. So, as much as I hate to say it, I gotta have Josh Williams out of the playoffs. But then again, like I said with Alex Bowman and Daniel Suarez, it's not a 100% guarantee that Brandon Jones is gonna make the playoffs. This is kind of more like a filler spot, if you guys can say, or more like a wild card spot, where I have like Brandon Jones. I have Brandon Jones making the playoffs, but it's like a 70-30 between him and Josh Williams. It's 70-30. 70-30 split, leaning towards Brandon Jones. If you want to put Josh Williams over him, I'm not going to argue with you. Again, it's very debatable between these two. You could even throw Jesse Love in there if you want to. Could even throw Jeff Burton, Parker Retzlaff, Jeremy Clements, even Ryan Sieg with that random super speedway win. But yeah, as it stands right now, this is Xfinity. You might want to take a good look at it before I change the tab. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Truck Series. Okay, Truck Series time. So, once again, just like the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series has some drivers that it's pretty obvious they're going to make the playoffs. Other drivers that are pretty obvious that they're going to miss the playoffs. They don't have a chance in hell of making it. Unlike the Xfinity Series, however, the Truck Series, due to the fact that they only have like 10 playoff spots to fill instead of the usual 12, or 16 that the Cup Series has, or 12 that the Xfinity Series has. The Truck Series, they only have 10 spots to fill. And because of that, and due to the fact that most of the drivers this season are more like leaning more towards like the mid-pack side of things, the playoff bubble is pretty crowded. You know, the Truck Series, it still has its heavy hitters, but it also has a very crowded bubble. And you'll see what I mean when it comes to that. So, anyways, this guy. Let's start in numerical order for the moment. Let's do this first few guys in numerical order. Let's see. Let's check. Mason Massey. Okay, Mason Massey. I just had to double check who the driver was in the 0-2 because I just had it at the tip of my tongue, but it just slipped away from me. Mason Massey, no way in hell he makes the playoffs. Nick Sanchez, I think is going to break through, and he's going to make it to the Championship 4. Or at the very least, he's going to be a dark horse contender for the Championship 4. Let's see. Dean Thompson. This might be a bit of a hot take, but when Dean Thompson runs well, he does run really well. I know he racked up like, he had like a DNF rate of nearly 50% this past season. He had like 10 DNFs this past season. But when he ran well, he ran very damn well. So I do see potential in Dean Thompson. And, you know, that occasional good run might eventually turn into a surprise win. So because of that, I'm gonna buy some stock on Dean Thompson and say that I'm gonna give him a chance and put him here on the bubble. Grant Enfinger, even if he's driving the number 9 of Cody Rohrbaugh, he ran pretty decently, pretty respectable when he ran it on like the part-time stint in 21 when he was splitting time with Eckes in the ThorSport 98. That was a weird time if you to be a Grant Enfinger fan. That was a very weird time to be around. But anyways, they also, the fact that they purchased most of the 23 GMS, most of what was the 23 GMS truck, like that truck that Enfinger is gonna be driving, that number 9 truck, they have most of the assets. It's very similar to the number 23 GMS truck. So I can actually see Enfinger winning a race, not only making the playoffs, but also winning a race. And even if he doesn't win a race, I think he's gonna make it on points because, I mean, he's just freaking Grant Enfinger. Corey Heim, he's also gonna be around. Christian Eckes, he's my championship pick for the Truck Series, as a matter of fact. He's my title pick for Xfinity. Stuart Friesen, I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I think he's going to bounce back. I know Friesen has like this moment, these seasons where he like, you know, drops off a cliff. If you remember, I remember 2020. This last season was very similar to 2020 where he like fell off a cliff out of nowhere and he didn't look like the Stuart Friesen of old. But I do think he's going to have a bounce back year. Ty Majeski, I still think he's gonna be ThorSport's best driver, in my opinion. In my opinion, he's ThorSport's like best driver. It's a debate between him and Ben Rhodes, honestly. That being said, I am never betting against Ben Rhodes again. The guy always finds a way to stay alive. And it's not even like and I wouldn't even necessarily call it clutch. I'll just say that Ben Rhodes is just a very interesting case where he does like the minimum necessary to just to advance in the playoffs. When it comes playoff time, Ben Rhodes just does the minimum necessary to advance. I wouldn't even say he's clutch. He just does the minimum necessary to advance, and it just always works out for him. It's just amazing. It just baffles me, but at the same time, it's also taught me a valuable lesson to not bet against that guy until proven otherwise. And the same applies for Matt Crafton. Look, You can hate Matt Crafton all you want for that incident with Nick Sanchez. I know, like, I should know because I lost a lot of respect for him after he went after Nick Sanchez the way he did at Talladega. But it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter how much I dislike the guy right now. The same thing, what I said about Ben Rhodes applies to Matt Crafton. The guy always finds a way to make it to the playoffs. He always finds a way to stay alive. Maybe he's not going to make it out of the first round anymore, but you can still bet on him to make it to the playoffs. Just do enough, just enough to make the playoffs. And so, yeah. So as you can see, we're just 10 drivers in, and 8 of them are already in the playoffs. So you already know that playoff bubble is going to get crowded really quick. Let's start with Bailey Curry. Like Dean Thompson, I see potential in Bailey Curry. He had a couple of good runs running that 41 for Nice. Unfortunately, those good runs, I feel on a full-time capacity, they're going to be few and far between. He's still going to have like those moments where he like runs like around 20th, below 20th, around top 25th or something like that. He's going to have his good runs though. He's definitely going to have his good runs. Matt Mills, he's like Bailey Curry, but to a lesser extent. If you remember, he also had a couple of good runs with running that the 51 for Cowboys Motorsports. In my opinion, he was better than Jack Wood, in my opinion. With that being said, I don't see the potential in him that I do Bailey Curry. So because of that, I'm giving Bailey Curry a shot because he is like the best hope Nice Motorsports has to for a top 20 finish. Now, there is definitely a universe where I can see both Bailey Curry and Matt Mills finishing top 20, but I do have Bailey Curry finishing. I do have Bailey Curry as the, as the number 1 guy. Matt Mills is gonna be like more like the number 2. Lawless Allen, no, thank you. Let's see here. Spencer Boyd, again, no, thank you. For these guys, Lawless Allen, Spencer Boyd, just qualify for every race. Just focus on qualifying for every race. See here, Thad Moffitt, same thing. Just qualify for every race, especially when it comes to like having new teams. Just qualify for every race. Let's see here. Brett Holmes. Let's see here. Brett Holmes. I think Brett Holmes can finish top 20 in points. There's definitely a scenario where I can see that happening. I don't know. I don't really know though, especially since I really wanted to have Brett Holmes like in the playoff bubble here, but again, the bubble is just way too crowded, and I don't think Brett Holmes is gonna have the opportunities to win races like other drivers I have do. Like, in order to have the opportunity to win, you gotta prove to me that you can have like occasionally good runs, and like Bailey Curry, Dean Thompson. Aside from 2022 Talladega, that race that he nearly won, but then Ben Rhodes versus Matty Benedetto happened. But aside from that one race that I thought Brett Holmes almost had, I haven't seen like much out of him, and this really sucks because I like Brett Holmes. I always have a soft spot for like those like smaller team owner, smaller like family-owned drivers that they just scratching and clawing to get sponsorship. I always want them to do well, but again, it's tough when the playoff bubble is just very crowded. It's just very tough to justify putting a spot there. If it serves any consolation, I'm gonna put like Brett Holmes in the high miss because I do think he can finish top 20 in points. Timmy Hill, it's kind of in the same. What I said about Brett Holmes applies to Timmy Hill as well. Small family-owned team that he and his brother, Tyler Hill, run. I do think he's finished top 20 in points in the past, running full time in the Truck Series. I gotta double check. I gotta like double check on that, but I'm pretty sure Timmy Hill has finished top 20, if not close to the top 20 in points in the Truck Series before. But yeah, just like Brett Holmes, he may finish top 20 in points, but I don't see him like making the playoffs. See, Daniel Dye. I'm only putting him here simply because he is running for McAnally. And if you guys saw my video of like recapping the silly season, I made a comment, a bit of an offhanded comment, that McAnally and Spire Motorsports, they were going to be like the two flagship teams of Chevrolet now that Cowboys Motorsports and GMS Racing are gone. I feel like Bill McAnally is going to be either the best or second best Chevrolet team. But regardless, they will have the best Chevy driver in Christian Eckes. They have the best Chevy driver in Christian Eckes. And Daniel Dye, he has that driver as his teammate. So because of that, I feel like Daniel Dye, he has that teammate that he can like, you know, look up to and try to like you know, work towards, you know, building upon some strong runs. So because of that, I feel like Daniel Dye is gonna have better runs than he did last year, and who knows, some of those good runs coupled with a little bit of good luck and attrition, maybe he can actually score his first career win and lock himself into the playoffs of that win. So, yeah. See, Tanner Gray, you cannot fool me. I am familiar with your game. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put Tyler Ankrum here as well, because Tanner Gray and Tyler Ankrum, these two guys can fool me. I am already familiar with them and how they work. They always are in the bubble, but they never make it. You know, if it was me, I would just put them like, they're going to miss the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make it, but the fact that they're going to finish like top 15 in points, the fact that they're like locks in the top 15 or close to it, I kind of feel obligated, because when you run like top 15 and you score top 10s and the occasional top 5, you're eventually bound to run into some Lady Luck is eventually bound to smile upon you, and you're going to score a win and lock yourself in the playoffs off of that win. Kind of like what happened with Tyler Ankrum at Kentucky in 2019, but yeah. The point is, it doesn't really matter how well they start or how good runs or whatever good runs they put. They're always going to revert to the norm eventually, which is 15-ish place in points, not making the playoffs. These guys are just perennial bubble drivers. They're just here as filler. They honestly, if it was for me, I have zero expectations of them making the playoffs. The only reason I'm putting them here is because I think they're going to finish like top 15 in points. Okay, Taylor Gray, he has more potential than Tanner. Definitely. He has more potential than Tanner. I do not know if he's going to make the playoffs. Like, I'm not fully sold on him because I have not seen him race at a full-time season yet. Like, that 2023 season, he just turned 18, so he didn't run like all races. I can definitely see him scoring a win though. And in my opinion, he's also gonna be like Tricon's second best driver behind Corey Heim. I don't know if Tricon can put like two of their Toyotas in the playoffs. Like, Taylor Gray is the best bet to be the number 2 guy, but I'm not fully sold, especially with Friesen. Especially if I think that Friesen is going to have the resurgence that I think he will. It's going to be very hard for Taylor Gray to justify putting Taylor Gray here. Anyways. Lane Riggs. Okay. Hear me out. Lane Riggs is going to win Rookie of the Year. That's one thing. But second thing, and most importantly, he's making the playoffs. Lane Riggs, he is gonna make the playoffs. I've been following. I've been starting to follow the short track scene more, a bit more closely, and let me tell you guys, Lane Riggs, that kid has potential. That kid has potential. And that 38 truck, like, I know that 38 truck is not like the number one priority of Ford, especially now that ThorSport is back with Ford after a couple of years with Toyota. They switched back to Ford, so that 38 truck is not the top priority that it was once before. But Lane Riggs is still an amazing talent, and I think he can keep that team afloat. Do I think he's gonna win a race? I don't know, but I think he's gonna have a season very similar to Nick Sanchez rookie year. Think a Nick Sanchez rookie year, where he's gonna get, like, I don't know, 2-3 top 5s, 11 top 10s, something like that. And he's gonna make the playoffs some points. Maybe he wins, maybe he doesn't. Even if he doesn't win, I think he's gonna make it in on points. Like, I have very high expectations for Lane Riggs. He's definitely my rookie of the year pick, but I'm also gonna go a step further and think and say he's gonna make the playoffs. Jake Garcia, similar to Lane Riggs, I also have high expectations for Jake Garcia. I mean, he is the most underrated young driver, or the best young driver that no one is talking about, in my opinion. But the thing about Jake Garcia, and the main reason why I don't think he's gonna make it, he's not a playoff driver for me, is because of that 13 truck. It's because of the truck he's driving. And there's always been something with that ThorSport 13 truck that I just cannot shake away. It doesn't matter who they put on that truck, whether it's veteran Johnny Sauter or rookie Haley Deegan or Cody Coughlin or Myatt Snyder. That 13 truck, every time I look at the pylon or the ticker or whatever, that 13 truck is always running mid-pack or sub 20th place, while all of their other teammates, Crafton, Majeski, Ben Rhodes, they're running top 10 or close to the top 10. There's always something with that 13 truck. And, you know, I honestly feel Jake Garcia is the best driver that ThorSport has had in quite a while for that 13 truck. But it's still going to be an uphill climb. For a young driver to put this on a young driver that is still... I think Garcia is still a teenager. I think he's turning 19 this year, right? Okay, let me double check. I think he's turning 19 this year, because I remember that he was unable to run the first couple of races because he hadn't turned 18 yet. I'm gonna get to this real quick. Let's see here. Let me look his... Jake Garcia. Yeah, he's turning 19 this year. Yeah, he's turning 19. He's turning 19 this year. His rookie season, last year, he didn't run the season opener at Daytona because he hadn't turned 18 yet. The guy's still a teenager. If you expect a teenager to turn that 13 truck, a truck that has been historically the weakest truck at ThorSport by far, if you think to give that that level of expectation to a teenager, I don't think it's fair. What I do think it's fair is for him to do better than Haley Deegan. As a matter of fact, I do think he will do better than Haley Deegan. He was doing way better than Haley Deegan when he was with McAnally, and Deegan was running that 13 truck. So it's pretty reasonable to say that Jake Garcia, if he doesn't make the playoffs, is gonna be like top 15 in points. I'm gonna say this: I'm not gonna keep the door closed on Jake Garcia missing the playoffs, because, again, like I said, I do have very high hopes for him, and I really want him to do well. So if he does have a hot start to the season that carries over deep into the summer, I may actually, put him here, but at the moment, nothing has been proven yet. I don't wanna just brace myself for disappointment here. Roger Carruth, what I said about Daniel Dye applies to Roger Carruth, except that Roger has more potential than, let's say, a Bailey Curry or a Dean Thompson. He had some pretty strong runs, especially late in the season. And he's also running for Spire Motorsports, which is like the flagship Chevrolet team. With that being said, I don't know, because Pyre, this is a new team. That 71 truck is a very new team, and we didn't even knew of like what the plans were gonna be for Roger Carruth until like a couple of days before I made this video, or before I was streaming this video. Like, usually when drivers like announce their plans, when drivers announce their full-time plans a couple of weeks before the season starts, that's a really bad omen of how their season's gonna go. So I'm pretty scared about a Roger Carruth sophomore slump. I'm pretty scared because if you remember back in 2019 with Johnny Sauter on that 13 truck, funnily enough, Johnny Sauter had no ride after GMS Racing booted him for Brett Moffitt. He took that 13 truck for ThorSport, but the announcement came so late, like with a few weeks to go before the season began, that even though Johnny Sauter had a hot start to the season, it just didn't held up. So I'm kind of worried about Roger Carruth having a very similar season to 2019 Johnny Sauter, except on a worse scale because he is a rookie, so he might very well fall victim to the sophomore slump. That being said, the guy has a lot of potential, and when he runs well, he runs very well. He is very similar to like Dean Thompson, to where when he runs well, he runs extremely well. I just feel like the good runs he's gonna have are like few and far between. And again, that's Spire Motorsports. Yes, they did a lot of moves in the off season, but now it's time to prove them. And as of right now, I feel like Roger Carruth is a largely unproven driver. He has potential, but I'm not giving you anything based on potential. I'm not gonna be nice with you simply because I see the potential in you. You gotta go out there and prove stuff, man. Chase Purdy, simply because he has more experience than Roger Carruth, I am obligated to say that he is better. But if I'm being honest, Chase Purdy, he doesn't have the ceiling that Roger Carruth has. Again, Roger Carruth has more potential. Roger Carruth has a higher ceiling. But Chase Purdy, because of the experience that he has a larger floor. So, I do see, funnily enough, I do see Roger Carruth making the playoffs more likely than Chase Purdy making the playoffs. But with that being said, Chase Purdy finishing top 15 in points, it's more likely than Roger Carruth finishing top 15 in points. What I'm trying to say is, Roger Carruth, he's gonna be more of a, he has more of a chance to win. Chase Purdy has more of a chance to finish, like, be more consistent. And also, this is just between you and me, guys. Chase Purdy, to me, he is starting to run into that. He is dropping into that Tanner Gray, Tyler Ankrum territory where he's just another playoff driver that I don't think is going to make the playoffs, but because he's going to finish top 15 in points every single year because of the car that he's running, I feel obligated to put him there. I feel obligated to have him here on the bubble, even though I don't think he's going to make the playoffs. The fact that he is like a top 15 fixture, or a perennial like top 15 in points driver, the fact that he's that type of driver, it makes me obligated to put him on the bubble. And it is because of that and how crowded the bubble is that I just could not decide on which driver I would have as my final 10 drivers, as my 10th and final driver on this spot, because these guys, Enfinger, Corey Heim, Eckes, Friesen, you know, all of these guys you see right here, these guys are locks, like in the playoffs. I'm pretty confident they're gonna be in the playoffs. Lane Riggs is a bit shaky, but the other 8 are like sure bets in my opinion. And you see the playoff bubble is just so crowded, but at the same time, like every single driver, I always had a reason for like, yeah, this driver can make the playoffs, but they have disappointed me in the past, or this driver is unproven, or I just don't see them winning. Or in the case of Jake Garcia, that the truck that they're driving, the truck that they're driving just sucks. So in the end, I decided to go out on a limb and say that a former Cup driver that's dropping down to the Truck Series is gonna make it to the playoffs. And hear me out on this one, okay? Hear me out. That Rackley War team, you know, they may be reeling from losing Matt DiBenedetto so suddenly, but Ty Dillon is not a bad replacement. You know, Ty Dillon is not a bad replacement. He is no Matt DiBenedetto. He is not, I'm not going to say my opinion, he's not any better than him, but his best years in his career came when he was running in the Truck Series. His only multi-win season in his career came in the Truck Series in 2013. And yeah, that was back when he was racing with RCR, but Ty Dillon has experience running in the Truck Series, and I can definitely see him, like, you know, having success in the, you know, I can definitely see Ty Dillon having more success, like, in the lower series than I do in the Cup series, at the Cup level. So because of that, I originally did have Ty Dillon making it in the bubble, but in the end, I just could not decide on which driver I would put as my 10th and final driver in my playoff grid. I decided to give Ty Dillon the nod in the end because of experience. I mean, one common trend that you will see on this playoff bubble is that all of these guys, or most of them, are inexperienced. And the drivers that have the experience, like Chase Purdy, Tanner Gray, Tyler Ankrum, I just have zero trust in them making the playoffs. I just do not believe in them. So I just had to go with Ty Dillon by the simple process of elimination. Although, if we are being honest, I do think the season he's going to have, I think is going to be very similar to that 2022 Matt DiBenedetto, minus the win. Although, again, I could very well see him having, like, following up on what DiBenedetto did in 2023 and score, like, you know, 2 top 5s, 10 top 10s. Also, the fact that he is, like, pretty underrated on super speedways, just like his brother. I mean, I am talking about underrated on super speedways at the Xfinity and truck level. Obviously, Cup Series Ty Dillon is a different story, but when it comes to Xfinity and Truck Series, Ty Dillon is very solid on super speedways. And, you know, at a race like Daytona, Atlanta, I do think the Truck Series are racing at Atlanta too. I'm going to have to double check on that because I haven't really studied the schedule a lot here. Let's see here. Okay, I went silent for a moment there. I'm still live here, guys. Don't worry. Bear with me for a moment. Let's see. Okay, so they're going to be running at Atlanta. So the first 2 seasons for all 3 national series are going to be 2 super speedways. How crazy is that? But it also gives an opportunity for drivers like Ty Dillon to, you know, to lock themselves early into the playoffs with a win. So again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying it's possible. So because of that, and the fact that Ty Dillon, again, he has the experience over most of these guys, I'm just gonna give him the nod. Again, anything can happen. Like I said, and you're gonna see a trend here. This is a trend that you guys saw with all of my playoff predictions or all preseason's prediction video. Um, the main trend here is that this final spot here on all of my brackets here, it's pretty much like a wild card slot. You see, on the Cup Series side, I had Alex Bowman versus Daniel Suarez. Then on Xfinity, I have like, you know, Brandon Jones and Josh Williams. And again, you could throw in like Jesse Love in there too. And then on the Truck Series side of things, you have like Ty Dillon, and then, you know, Jake Garcia, Purdy, Taylor Gray. I mean, those guys are like the main drivers that I would worry about if I was like Ty Dillon. Like, just focus on beating these three guys on points. Of course, that is assuming that Jake Garcia struggles in the 13, because if he manages to figure it out early on that 13 truck, like, it's a wrap. That 13 truck, just remove Ty Dillon out of there, get Ty Dillon out of there, and put that 13 and replace him with Jake Garcia on my playoff predictions. But anyways, yeah, you're gonna see here, like, I wasn't exactly confident. You're gonna say I wasn't exactly very confident when making this, like, these picks. And that's just a trend that I've had this season. Like, I'm getting into this season more open-minded and worrying less about like these predictions, because when I was making like these videos, like when I started this channel and I started making like my predictions, I wanted them to be like perfect and stuff like that. But as the years have gone on, I've realized that, you know, it doesn't matter if I strike out on my predictions. What matters is like the reasoning that I use to make those predictions is what matters. And even if I strike out on them, it's just because I was just wrong. But at the very least, you had a very good argument that backed up your reasoning as to why you make the picks the way you did. So in that regard, I feel like it's better to just, you know, what I want is for people to understand where I'm coming from. That's what I'm trying to go. That's what I'm trying to go with this. If you want to put, like, you know, Taylor Gray or Chase Purdy, you know, in the playoffs over Ty Dillon, then go ahead. Just go ahead and do it. Of course, there are some drivers that, you know, I just would not. I would look at you like funny if you say they're gonna miss the playoffs. But for those drivers like, you know, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez in the Cup Series, Brandon Jones, Jesse Love, Josh Williams in Xfinity, Tyler Ankrum, if you want to get crazy, Chase Purdy, Ty Dillon. If you want to debate those guys, which of these guys deserves to be in the playoffs more than the other, or which guy would deserve, or not deserve, which guy will make the playoffs over which other guy. If you want to debate that, then if you want to debate between those guys, then that's fine. I'm not gonna push you back on this. Like I said, this is my opinion only. This is my opinion, okay? If you disagree with me, that's fine. Of course, if you disagree with like Corey Haim if you disagree with me with like Corey Haim or Christian Eckes, of course I'm gonna be like, are you okay, dude? But if you disagree with me on like Ty Dillon missing the play, on like Ty Dillon or Brandon Jones or whatever, then, you know, then that's fine. We can have a debate there. We can have a debate. But anyways, I hope you liked my video. Tomorrow is Daytona 500 qualifying. I'm not going to be making a video on Daytona 500 qualifying. I'm going to wait until Thursday, where I'm going to be talking about both qualifying and the duels after the duels end. I'm going to try and watch both qualifying and the duels, but I cannot promise you guys anything because I'm going to be at work. And because of that, it's gonna be more complicated for me. But I'm gonna try and watch as most as I can, so that I can, you know, have a good base of what I'm gonna be talking about. But anyways, tomorrow I'm gonna be live streaming my drivers to watch for in 2024, drivers and teams to watch for. And then on Thursday, I'm going to be talking about qualifying and the duels. And then on Friday, you know, I'm going to be talking about the truck race. Saturday, Xfinity race. Sunday, the Cup race. Again, that is assuming the forecast. That is assuming Mother Nature cooperates, because the forecast is not looking very good. So anyways, thank you so much for watching whenever you are watching this, and talk to you later. Peace out.